The Great Deception. The arrival of Fool's Captain Marcus Rivera stepped off the transport shuttle onto the gleaming floors of Nexus Prime, the galaxy's most important trading station. Behind him, 3 other humans followed, their clothes slightly worn and their equipment clearly outdated by galactic standards. To any observer, they looked exactly like what the galaxy expected from Earth's representatives: desperate, primitive, and completely out of their depth. The massive space station stretched in all directions, its corridors filled with beings from hundreds of different worlds. Towering crystalline entities glided past spider-like merchants, while gaseous beings floated in specialized containment suits. The air buzzed with dozens of languages, creating a symphony of alien communication that would have overwhelmed most newcomers. But Marcus had trained for this moment his entire life. At 45 years old, he had spent decades preparing to play the role of Earth's humble envoy. His weathered face showed just the right amount of nervousness, and his slightly shaking hands clutched a datapad that contained Earth's desperate trade proposals. "Look at them," chittered Ambassador Zix-9 to his companion, a massive slug-like being whose tentacles dripped with expensive jewelry. "The Earthers have finally crawled out of their little solar system. How adorable." The comment wasn't meant to be cruel. To most galactic citizens, humanity was simply another young species trying to find its place among the stars. Earth had made contact with galactic civilization only 50 years ago, and their technology seemed laughably primitive. Their ships moved slowly, their weapons were basic, and their entire civilization appeared to be struggling just to maintain a few small colonies beyond their home world. "Ambassador Zix-9, Marcus said, approaching with what appeared to be genuine excitement. "Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us. Earth is incredibly grateful for this opportunity." The insectoid alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Of course, Captain Rivera. We are always willing to help developing species. Tell me, what does Earth hope to trade? More of your interesting art, perhaps? Or those curious food substances you call spices?" Marcus nodded eagerly, pulling up files on his datapad. "We have agricultural products, some rare minerals from our asteroid belt, and we've developed a few unique manufacturing techniques that might interest certain buyers." What he didn't mention was that those unique manufacturing techniques could revolutionize galactic industry, or that Earth's rare minerals included substances that most civilizations had never even discovered. The asteroid belt mining operation that appeared so small and primitive to galactic observers was actually the cover for something far more significant: the galactic hierarchy. The meeting took place in one of Nexus Prime's smaller conference rooms, a space that could comfortably hold 50 beings but currently hosted only a dozen. The representatives present were not the galaxy's most important leaders, but rather mid-level officials tasked with handling minor species affairs. This was exactly what Marcus had hoped for. Earth's position in galactic trade is, naturally, quite limited, explained Counselor Vrath, a reptilian being whose scales shimmered with each word. "Your species lacks the industrial capacity for major manufacturing. Your transportation network is minimal, and your energy production is still based on fusion technology that most civilizations abandoned centuries ago." Marcus nodded humbly. "We understand our limitations, Counselor. We are simply hoping to find small niches where we might contribute something of value, perhaps raw materials, or specialized services that larger civilizations might not find profitable." The aliens exchanged glances that clearly communicated their shared opinion. These humans were exactly what they appeared to be: eager, primitive, and completely harmless. Earth might eventually develop into something more significant, but that would take centuries of careful guidance from more advanced species. "We might be able to arrange some small contracts," Ambassador Zix-9 finally said. "Perhaps hauling cargo between inner rim systems, or processing agricultural waste from farming worlds. Nothing too complex, you understand. We wouldn't want to overwhelm your limited capabilities." "That would be wonderful," Marcus replied, and his gratitude appeared completely genuine. Any opportunity to prove ourselves would be appreciated. But while the human delegation accepted these scraps with apparent joy, something else was happening in the deeper parts of the galaxy. Ancient monitoring systems, some older than current civilizations, had begun to detect anomalies in what should have been empty space. The ancient watchers on a forgotten world at the edge of charted space. Keeper Valdanus studied readings that made no sense. The ancient being had existed for over 10,000 years, watching civilizations rise and fall, and his crystalline form contained knowledge that most species had never even imagined. The energy signatures he was detecting shouldn't exist. Somewhere in the vast emptiness between star systems, massive amounts of power were being generated and consumed. The readings suggested industrial activity on a scale that rivaled the greatest galactic civilizations, but there was nothing there. Every survey, every scan, every exploration mission had found only empty space. Valdanus extended his consciousness across light years, touching the network of ancient sensors that his kind had placed throughout the galaxy eons ago. Most species didn't even know these sensors existed, but they had been quietly monitoring galactic development for millennia. The pattern was becoming clear. The energy signatures were strongest in regions of space that Earth's primitive survey ships had explored decades ago, areas that human records showed as unsuitable for development or lacking strategic value. But the power readings suggested something entirely different. Impossible, Valdanus whispered in his ancient language. No species could construct something of that magnitude without detection. The resources alone would require... He paused as another realization struck him. Earth's asteroid mining operations, dismissed by every galactic power as small-scale resource gathering, suddenly took on new significance. If those operations were actually feeding materials to a massive construction project hidden in deep space, then humanity's true capabilities might be far beyond what anyone suspected. Hidden truths. Meanwhile, back on Nexus Prime, Marcus was completing his successful negotiations. Earth had secured contracts for exactly the kind of menial work that confirmed every galactic stereotype about human limitations. They would haul garbage, process waste, and perform basic transportation services that more advanced species found beneath their attention. "Excellent work, Captain," transmitted Director Hayes through Marcus's concealed communication implant. The signal was so advanced that not even the station's sophisticated monitoring systems detected it. "Phase 1 is complete. The galaxy sees exactly what we want them to see." Marcus allowed himself a small smile as he shook hands with Ambassador 6-9. The insectoid being's grip was firm and condescending, exactly as expected. "We look forward to working with you," 6-9 said. "In time, perhaps Earth will develop the capabilities for more significant contributions to galactic civilization." "We can only hope," Marcus replied humbly. But behind his modest words lay a secret that would have shattered every assumption the galaxy held about humanity. For the past 40 years, since first contact with galactic civilization, Earth had been engaged in the most ambitious construction project in known history. Hidden in the vast emptiness between solar systems, protected by technology that made human ships appear primitive while actually being decades ahead of anything the galaxy possessed, humanity had built something unprecedented. The Avalon City Station was not just large, it was impossibly vast. Stretching across nearly 1,000 kilometers and home to over 50 million humans, it represented a level of engineering and organization that no galactic civilization had ever achieved. Its power sources were beyond current galactic understanding. Its manufacturing capabilities could outproduce entire star systems, and its defensive systems were designed to withstand threats that most species couldn't even imagine. But more importantly, Avalon was just the beginning. Throughout supposedly empty regions of space, humanity had established a network of hidden installations, research stations, and manufacturing facilities that would have made the galaxy's greatest powers look like struggling colonies. The growing suspicion. As Marcus and his team prepared to leave Nexus Prime, Keeper Valdanus was sharing his concerns with the few beings ancient enough to understand their significance. The Eternal Council, comprised of entities who had witnessed the rise and fall of galactic empires, met in spaces that existed outside normal dimensions. "The energy patterns are unmistakable," Valdanus explained to his fellow keepers. Someone is operating industrial facilities of unprecedented scale in regions that all surveys show as empty. The power signatures suggest technology that exceeds our current understanding. Keeper Thanasis, whose form resembled living shadow, projected skepticism. Perhaps the hegemony has developed new stealth capabilities, or the trade consortium has found ways to hide their operations. No, Valdanis replied firmly. I have compared these signatures to all known technologies. This is something entirely new, and the timing corresponds exactly with Earth's emergence into galactic society. The suggestion hung in the space between dimensions like a dangerous thought that none of them wanted to acknowledge. Earth, the primitive world whose people couldn't even build proper starships, somehow connected to technology that surpassed galactic civilization? Investigate quietly, advised Keeper Morvain, eldest among them. If your suspicions are correct, then we are dealing with a species that has successfully deceived the entire galaxy. The implications would be significant. As the ancient beings dispersed to their various domains, none of them noticed the almost invisible probe that had been monitoring their conversation. The device was so advanced that even the Keeper's enhanced senses couldn't detect it, and its data stream was already traveling toward the hidden depths of space where humanity's greatest secret waited in patient silence. The galaxy thought it knew humanity's place in the cosmic order. They were about to discover how wrong they had been. The revelation, the awakening. 3 months after the Nexus Prime negotiations, the galaxy received its first real shock. The disappearances had been subtle at first, a few deep space exploration vessels, some automated cargo ships traveling through supposedly empty sectors. The losses were easily explained as routine hazards of space travel, equipment failures, navigation errors, or encounters with uncharted phenomena. But Keeper Valdanis had been tracking the pattern, and what he discovered made his ancient consciousness recoil in disbelief. Every missing ship had vanished in sectors that Earth's early survey missions had marked as void regions, or navigation hazards, areas that human records claimed were too dangerous or worthless to explore further. Counselor Vrath, Valdanis, transmitted to the Galactic Commerce Authority, I require access to all shipping logs for vessels that have passed through the Kepler Void, the Barnard Gap, and the regions surrounding the Proxima Dark Zone. The reptilian counselor's response crackled with irritation. Honored Keeper, those are some of our busiest deep space routes. Surely you don't suspect that primitive Earth has somehow developed the capability to threaten interstellar shipping? But Valdanis was no longer interested in what seemed possible. His analysis had revealed something that defied every assumption about human capabilities. The energy signatures he had been detecting weren't random industrial activity. They formed a pattern, a vast network of interconnected facilities stretching across thousands of light years, all hidden in regions that Earth had claimed were unsuitable for development. The truth hit him like a stellar collision. Humanity hadn't been struggling to find their place in galactic civilization. They had been studying it, learning from it, and building something that made every galactic power look like children playing with primitive toys. The moment of truth, Captain Marcus Rivera stood in the command center of Avalon City Station, watching, as the final preparations were completed. Through the massive viewing walls that surrounded the central hub, he could see the incredible scope of humanity's greatest achievement. Entire districts stretched into the distance, their lights creating patterns that resembled Earth's greatest cities, but on a scale that dwarfed anything the homeworld had ever built. All systems are operational, Captain, reported Commander Sarah Chen, her voice carrying across the vast command center. Power generation is at full capacity, defensive systems are online, and our communication networks are ready for galactic-wide transmission. Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of history settling on his shoulders. For 40 years, humanity had hidden in the shadows, allowing the galaxy to see them as primitive and harmless, while they built something unprecedented. The deception had been necessary. If the galactic powers had discovered what Earth was really doing, they would have united to destroy humanity before the project could be completed. Send the message to all human installations. Marcus commanded. Operation Revelation begins now. Across the galaxy, in hidden facilities that the greatest civilizations had never suspected existed, humans received the signal they had been waiting for decades to hear. The time for hiding was over. The galactic shock. The first sign that something extraordinary was happening came when deep space monitoring stations began detecting massive energy signatures in regions that their charts showed as empty void. Within hours, those signatures resolved into something that shattered every understanding of galactic development. Avalon City Station materialized from stealth systems so advanced that they had been operating undetected for 4 decades. But Avalon wasn't just a single installation. It was the heart of a network that spanned dozens of star systems, manufacturing complexes larger than gas giant moons, research facilities that dwarfed the galaxy's greatest universities, and defensive installations that could protect entire sectors. Ambassador Zix-9 was in the middle of a routine trade meeting when his communication systems went completely insane. Every channel was flooding with impossible sensor readings, and his staff was struggling to process information that defied belief. "Sir," his aide whispered, mandibles clicking frantically. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth. But the signal is coming from coordinates that our charts show as empty space." The transmission began with Captain Marcus Rivera's face, but he looked very different from the humble envoy who had begged for scraps at Nexus Prime. His uniform was crisp and clearly military, his bearing confident and commanding, and behind him stretched a command center that made the galaxy's most advanced facilities look primitive. "Citizens of the galaxy," Marcus began, his voice carrying across every communication channel in known space. "I am Captain Marcus Rivera of the Terran Deep Space Command. For the past 40 years, Earth has been conducting the largest construction and development project in galactic history. Today we reveal the truth about humanity's place among the stars." The images that followed left entire civilizations speechless. Avalon City Station alone housed more humans than most species' total population. Its manufacturing capabilities could build entire fleets in the time it took galactic shipyards to produce single vessels. Its research facilities had developed technologies that advanced human science beyond anything the galaxy had achieved. But Avalon was just the centerpiece. The network included mining operations that had strip-mined entire asteroid belts, energy collectors that harvested power from stellar phenomena, and exploration fleets that had mapped regions of space that galactic civilization had never even suspected existed. The new reality counselor Vrath's scales turned pale gray as he processed the implications of what he was seeing. Earth hadn't been a struggling young civilization begging for scraps. They had been the galaxy's most advanced species, hiding their capabilities while they prepared to reshape the cosmic order. "How is this possible?" he whispered to his staff. "Our intelligence networks, our monitoring systems, our exploration fleets, how did they miss something of this magnitude?" The answer came from Keeper Valdanus, whose ancient voice carried the weight of terrible understanding. "They didn't miss it," he explained to the emergency assembly of galactic leaders. "Humanity deliberately showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. Every primitive ship, every struggling colony, every desperate trade negotiation, it was all carefully designed to maintain the illusion of weakness while they built the most powerful civilization in galactic history. The evidence was overwhelming. Earth's primitive fusion technology was actually advanced antimatter containment, disguised to appear less sophisticated. Their struggling colonies were actually research outposts, gathering intelligence on galactic technology and society. Their desperate trade missions were reconnaissance operations mapping galactic infrastructure and identifying strategic weaknesses. Ambassador Zix-9 felt his entire understanding of galactic politics crumbling as he realized the truth. Humanity hadn't been seeking the galaxy's approval. They had been studying galactic civilization like scientists examining bacteria under a microscope. The human advantage. The revelation continued with demonstrations of human capabilities that left galactic experts struggling to comprehend what they were witnessing. Avalon's manufacturing districts produced technologies that were decades ahead of anything galactic civilization had developed. Their energy systems harnessed forces that most species had never even theorized about. Their transportation networks allowed instantaneous communication and travel across distances that would take conventional ships months to traverse. But the most shocking revelation was humanity's population. The galaxy had estimated Earth's total population at perhaps 10 billion individuals, mostly confined to their home system. The truth was that humanity numbered in the hundreds of billions, spread across installations that spanned half the galaxy. They had been quietly establishing themselves in every major region of space, while appearing to struggle with basic colonization. Commander Chen stepped forward in the transmission, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had spent decades preparing for this moment. The Terran Deep Space Command operates over 3,000 installations across 47 star systems. Our exploration fleets have mapped regions that extend far beyond current galactic borders. Our research facilities have made discoveries that would revolutionize galactic science, and our manufacturing capacity exceeds the combined output of the 5 largest galactic civilizations. The numbers were staggering. Humanity's hidden industrial capacity could build more starships in a single year than the galaxy's greatest powers had constructed in their entire histories. Their research capabilities had solved scientific problems that had puzzled galactic civilization for millennia. Their exploration efforts had discovered new forms of energy, new materials, and new worlds that would transform understanding of the universe itself. The Galactic Response, the emergency assembly of galactic leaders, convened within hours of humanity's revelation. But their meeting was unlike any in galactic history. Species that had spent centuries competing for dominance suddenly found themselves united by a single terrifying realization. They were no longer the galaxy's dominant powers. "What do they want?" demanded General Korath of the hegemony, his massive form trembling with anger and fear. "If they have these capabilities, why reveal them now? What is their intention toward the rest of galactic civilization?" The answer came in the final part of humanity's transmission. Captain Rivera returned to the screen, but now he was joined by dozens of other humans representing every aspect of their hidden civilization. Scientists, engineers, military commanders, and civilian leaders, all of them radiating the confidence of a species that had successfully executed the most ambitious deception in galactic history. "Earth extends an invitation to all galactic civilizations," Rivera announced. "We offer true partnership based on mutual respect and shared development. Our technologies, our discoveries, and our capabilities are available for cooperation with species that approach us as equals rather than primitives to be patronized." The offer was generous, but the underlying message was clear. The galaxy's power structure had changed permanently. Humanity was no longer a young species seeking approval from their betters. They were now the galaxy's most advanced civilization, offering partnership to those wise enough to accept it and prepared to defend themselves against those who might prefer the old order. The new beginning. The weeks that followed, the galaxy struggled to adapt to its new reality. Some civilizations, led by visionary leaders who recognized the opportunity, began negotiations for technological and cultural exchange with humanity. Others, particularly those whose power had been based on their previous technological advantages, attempted to form coalitions to challenge Earth's sudden emergence, but humanity had prepared for every possible response. Their defensive capabilities were as advanced as their industrial ones, and their intelligence networks had been gathering information about galactic military capabilities for decades. Any attempt at aggression would face technologies that most species couldn't even comprehend. Captain Rivera stood once again in Avalon's command center, watching as humanity took its rightful place among the stars. The deception was over, the hiding was finished, and Earth had emerged from the shadows as the galaxy's newest superpower. "Status report," he requested from Commander Chen. "All installations are operating at full capacity," she replied. "Diplomatic contacts have been established with 43 civilizations, trade agreements are being negotiated with 17 species, and our exploration fleets are preparing to reveal the discoveries we've made in the outer reaches." Marcus smiled as he looked out at the vast city that humanity had built in secret. The galaxy had mocked Earth's primitive technology and dismissed human potential. They had learned too late that sometimes the greatest strength comes from allowing others to underestimate you, while you quietly build something that changes everything. The galaxy would never be the same. And for humanity, this was just the beginning.